not recognize the location we are at, and that would make sense because we're not in Buena Park. We're actually at Golden West College at the Police Academy. There are a lot of people behind us that I don't recognize at all. So what's going on here?
We are actually performing the physical agility test portion of a open recruitment for a police officer position.
So how many people do you have here today that want to be a police officer at some point?
You know, it's interesting. Excuse me. Recently, we subjected all our applicants to a written exam.
Wait a minute, subjected, as in they didn't take one, they were subjected to it, so it must have been pretty tough.
You know, I put it that way because I remember years ago when I went through the process, it was fairly rigorous, you know, and there's definitely specific material that you have to study in order to do well on the written test. So we did that last month, and out of a field of over 100 applicants, 45 advanced to today for the physical agility testing.
You know, let me ask you, I know there are so many qualities that a police officer has to have, and the written test doesn't even begin to hit all those qualities. So somebody doesn't score high enough on the written test, but they have all those other qualities. Why is it you have to pass the written to get here? Why can't you put it all together and bring the package all the way forward?
Well, you know, this is one component out of three different phases. So, like I mentioned, last month was a written test, physical agility today. So the applicants who are successful today will advance to an interview examination. So, you know, you have to be successful in all three components in order to be considered or make the list to be selected as a police officer. So it's a very stringent process. You know that academic or intellectual factor is extremely important. You know, we demand very diverse skill sets from police officers. They have to know a little bit about a lot of things in order to be a successful police officer.
So what are you going to test these applicants here today?
Some very basic physical agility tests. You know, they have to be able to get over a wall. This chain link fence here behind us. There is a body drag component to the testing. It's weighted 165 pounds and a running component. So you put it all together, and it's fairly rigorous. But again, you know, we set these benchmarks so that we're really testing an individual's physical capability without decimating the applicant field, you know, because there are a lot of people have different strengths, I guess is a good way to put it. And some people are, you know, are more brains than brawn, and some are the other way around. So we're looking for those candidates that you know, that have components of all these skills to be selected as an officer, and eventually we'll take that candidate and sponsor them into the police academy.
Is this a pass or fail test?
It is a pass or fail test. So HR on the front end has gone through quite an extensive analysis with you know, with input from the police department, so we could set the mark, the benchmark, as to what a passing score is. And we took a long, hard look at each of the components. These applicants will perform 5 different events, and we've already in advance carefully scored each one, so we have that pass-fail benchmark. So of course we want our applicants to try as hard as they can, but there's a minimum score, I guess, is what I'm saying.
It sounds like these activities are very similar to what a police officer would do in the field.
Yes.
I know they don't want to have to jump a fence if they don't have to, but at times they do.
At times you do, that's right. So, you know, we just want to make sure that you have the physical capability to get over a fence, to have to, you know, run and chase someone.
Drag a body.
To drag someone, whether you're rescuing someone or you know, having to exert, you know, physical um, um, application on someone to take them into custody, those kinds of things. So, a number of agencies have done different things in terms of what a good testing measure is for the physical component, and we've kind of used a method that has been proven already. That's the reason why we're here at the Academy. These events are already set up and in place. So we'll kick this off here pretty soon and see how they do.
Doesn't the job of a police officer require a level of physical fitness just for them to perform the duties?
Absolutely, and it's kind of interesting. Some of the biggest physical challenges for a police officer are at the very beginning of their career. You have to be able to pass the physical agility test just to get hired. The police academy is very rigorous, so physical aspect there is tough. And then as you age through your career, the older one gets, and unless you're one of those individuals that incorporates lifelong fitness into your lifestyle, it makes it tough, wearing the equipment and performing the job. And so in order to prevent injuries, just to be able to survive a career, it really does take a certain level of fitness, and that's certainly what the academies today are promoting.
How much does the outfit that an officer wears, the vest, the gun belt, the gun, how much more weight does that add onto the body and the spine?
Yeah, it varies. Can be 30 pounds or more. And you have to think about what the expectation is. They're getting in and out of cars, sometimes having to chase people, and sometimes having to engage in and actually using physical force to effect arrests and those sorts of things. So when you're dressed the way an officer does, it's kind of twofold. The uniform and the equipment and the body.
And then the weather.
Well, and the weather, right, are intended to add a layer of safety and protection. The flip side to that is that added weight, particularly in hot weather, and then getting in and out of vehicles, or being sedentary for hours at a time, and then suddenly having to spring out of the car and do something quickly, is a physical demand.
We didn't know it was going to be 102 degrees this week, so my apologies. But good morning. On behalf of the Human Resources Office in the City of Buena Park, congratulations for making it to the physical agility exam for the position of police officer recruit. This morning you're going to be tested in 5 different components of what typical physical agility is required for the position of a police officer. There are going to be some staff here. You're going to recognize us by having our city seal. You might see some Explorer staff, some of our young folks from our Explorer post helping out. If you have any questions or concerns, you can discuss with one of them. But if you have an emergency, you have any specific questions about the process today, I am going to ask that you either see me, Alice Burnett, you're going to see Eddie Fenton, the Director of Human Resources, or you're going to see Sergeant Chris Nunez, who is head of our recruitment team from the police department. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So a little bit about what to expect today. You have a scorecard that you've been assigned a number. We're going to call a set of numbers, and when I call a set of numbers, we're going to start you at the first station. Solid wall. We're going to move on to the chain link fence. We're going to do the agility obstacle course. We're going to do the body drag, and then the track is on the other side of campus, and you'll be escorted to the track by one of our police explorers. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If you didn't bring your own water, stay hydrated. That's available for you if you would like to. If you would like some, help yourself. Eventually, you'll make your way out to the track for the run portion. There's a cooler out there as well. So in the meantime, just kind of chill, relax, maybe wait in the shade, and then I'll reconvene and bring you back for some instructions. Okay?
And then you got to jog to the cone.
All the way to that.
So that's one method. You know, I can tell you Eric is he's in really good shape. He's on our SWAT team. He's got a lot of upper body strength. So for those of you that have upper body strength, that's a really fast technique.
Get over the wall. Yeah, don't embarrass us. There you go.
You know, that was really you know, a fraction of a second slower than the first demonstration. But it makes the point that technique really is what makes the difference.
So anyway, again, this one is timed. The other one you have a little bit more leeway, but this one you want to make it over. Again, you can plant your foot, you can just hop up. What I like to do is get your momentum going, get some speed, jump up, and I try to hit it and get more of a push-up position and go over the top. So again, this one's going to be a little bit easier, so let's try it. Spin all the way up.
Okay, that's one way. Diana? No. And another method. You know, just a point I wanted to bring out is there's no points for you know, there's no style points, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's this cross member here. It's a really good spot to put your foot. Use it is my point, okay? All you got to do is get over the fence. You know, just be careful about the top of the chain link, grabbing onto your clothes, that sort of thing. But, you know, start there, over the fence, and sprint to the end. Any questions about the chain link fence? Okay. You see these parking blocks over here? Those are, you know, they're probably 8 inches tall, so it's not, you know, it's not a challenge necessarily, but be careful. You have to actually step over those blocks, so be careful not to trip because you're going to be moving quick. It's a timed event, and you see how they're offset, so you're kind of doing a dog leg to the right. So you step over the first one, you know, you move laterally. To the right, step over the other one, and there's a path in the grass that kind of takes you to that third parking block and the hurdle. You see the hurdle there? Step over the block and get over the hurdle. So one of the requirements is the hurdle you got to touch with both hands. You know, many of you could probably just jump and hurdle the thing without ever touching it, and that's definitely faster, but as you go over the top of the hurdle, just touch it with both hands, get over the hurdle, and again, there's a path in the grass. The home stretch is actually a run this direction, and you can see that cone, the third cone closest to us here, that's the end. Okay, any questions about the agility run?
It's just the special instructions for this particular obstacle. Okay, so pay attention. I'm trying to speak as loud as I can. But this test simulates moving someone who is physically incapacitated. The test requires that you lift and drag a lifelike dummy that is facing up. Grab it however you want, and you just start going. Mind you, it's not timed, so just take your time. Okay? You cannot stop. If you fall, you're disqualified. If you stop and rest, you're disqualified. You get one more shot. Okay? You got to go all the way to the cone, and it's completed when his feet cross the cone. Lay it down. Okay? So it's not timed. So don't worry about it.
isn't just something that the police department does as an activity for those people who are interested in joining the police department, but it's actually a city-run activity. And we're with Eddie Fenton, the Director of Human Resources for the City of Buena Park. Eddie, why does HR participate in something like this?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's really important to me that we maintain the integrity of the process. So HR is here just to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, equitably, and make sure that the process is sort of meets our standards in the civil service, and making sure that our rules and regulations are followed as well, but just also making sure that people are safe.
Well, it's a nice way that you arranged the weather today for it to be about 10 degrees cooler than the day before. I noticed that there are a couple other people from administration here. What exactly is the process that HR watches as somebody starts from the very beginning to the point where they get hired as a police officer?
Yeah, HR is responsible for the entire recruitment and selection process, really from the time the person submits an application all the way through the time that we've established an eligible list. And HR, throughout that process, just makes sure that everyone just gets treated fairly in accordance with the minimum qualifications. And passing today's exam is just one of the sort of steps, one of the hurdles in the process. Next week we expect those that pass to go through the interview process, and then at that point we'll establish the list and get these top qualified candidates over to the police department.
As this is going on, what federal or state laws are you watching to make sure that the process is in compliance?
We operate under a civil service system, so it's important to me that each candidate is qualified for the job. And for being a police officer, not only do you need to have the sort of the mental aptitudes, but you also have the physical aptitude to be able to chase down the bad guys, and to also go through our police academy, which is not only very rigorous in the school, in the classroom setting, but also very rigorous in the physical aspects. They need to be able to jump over walls and run 500 yards, and to be able to climb over fences and things of that nature. So we just want to make sure that each candidate that I certify as being qualified to be a police officer for the City of Buena Park has gone through this process and is physically fit, but also mentally capable of being a police officer.
Of the candidates that are here, which was narrowed down from passing the written test, ultimately, how many do you think the police department will be able to hire?
Right now we currently have 2 vacancies through normal attrition from retirements or otherwise transfers or separations. We potentially can expect 2 more. We're hopeful that in the July Academy we submit those 2 candidates and possibly a third. So we certainly expect to fill possibly 4 to 5 candidates from this eligible list over the next year.
How many applicants at the very, very beginning whose application was accepted? How many was that number?
Yeah, we had this recruitment open for 2 weeks, and we received approximately 100 applications, and of those, most of them met the minimum qualifications and were invited to the written exam. And today we have 45 candidates who will be testing on the physical abilities section.
So with going through this entire process from the beginning to the end, it sounds like you're only going to hire maybe 3 or 4%. That's a rarity to start at the very beginning and make it all the way through.
Yeah, it's a very tough process, and we're certainly looking for the best and the brightest here in the City of Buena Park to be a police officer and to wear our patch. So we do have to make sure that our standards are set a little bit higher than just, say, average.
Not just having all the applicants here, there are a lot of people from the city who are here to help make this successful.
Right. We brought the HR staff. We brought 8 police officers who are actually proctoring, each of the 5 phases of events. A squad of police explorers that kind of help with, with logistics and moving equipment around, and so it's a major event. It takes quite an effort for the city to put on this type of testing process. So, with what's at stake, a full-time employee, a full-time police officer employee, it's definitely worth the effort to go through, such a careful process such as this.
Describe for me, if you were to describe the type of person who should be a police officer, that ideal. What are the characteristics that you could put in less than a half-hour show?
Yeah. Jane, that's a very interesting question, and the only reason I say that is because my experience, I've noticed that police officers come in all shapes and sizes, really. And over the decades, even that's kind of changed a little bit from, very young to people starting a new career, mid-30s, even, 40. I had an academy classmate that was 42 years old. Definitely a lot more females in this industry than when I started in the 80s. So, one would think that, that there's a perfect cookie cutter type police officer, but I don't think that's the case.
So you'll take anybody as long as they're honest and good and physically fit and everything else too.
Well, that's you're making a good point, and that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for quality people, quality human beings. And of course, because of the nature of the work, there is a physical component involved. But we want smart people. We want caring people. We want people that have a strong work ethic, that are willing to work hard for to accomplish good things. And like I said, my experience is people like that come in all shapes and sizes.
If you have any questions today, you can call the Buena Park Police Department at 562-3901. With Sergeant Chris Nunez of the Buena Park Police Department, I'm Jane Cameron. Thanks for watching.